Yeah, Tales from the Jails here. Hope you can hear me, folks. It's John G. Sutton. Here we are. Can you hear me? Is there anybody there? Yeah, hello there. Can you hear me okay? Mm-hmm. Good. Paula. How are you doing, Paula? How's Scotland? It's been bloody cold here. I don't know about there. Gary, you can hear me fine. Good. I had a bit of problems getting logged on, you know. No, it was. I changed my operating system and it's just not working properly since. Yeah. Stay blessed, Kitchen. Oh, John, happy new year. Thank you, mate. Yeah. Good evening. Yeah, good evening. Here we are. Tales from the Jails. What have you read about all this nonsense with all these prison officers getting locked up? It beggars belief, really, when you think about it. I mean, all the time I worked there were one or two but one jail has been 38 of the buggers. 38 from one jail. Catherine. Hello, Catherine. Did you read my book? Yeah? That one? Yeah. I've been working on my next one now. Volume 3. I've been working on it today. Frank. Hello, Frank. Thanks for joining us, Frank. Do you have a question for me? Yeah. Your name's Lawrence. Oh, right, Lawrence. You're not Lawrence of Arabia by any chance, are you? Obviously not. Yeah. Oh, your parents read it too. What did they make of it, Catherine? I mean, it would probably be their era, wouldn't it? Yeah. The 70s and 80s. Because you're a lot younger than that, aren't you? You live in a very countrified place. I bet it's been cold there, Catherine. Tell me it has. What can we do about short sentence? Well, I mean, listen, I don't know where they've got the idea from, but finally the Ministry of Justice seem to be sitting up and paying attention. You know, that they're reducing the ability of the courts to pass short sentences, making it a minimum sentence of 12 months. Well, I've previously said I believe it should be a minimum sentence of 3 years and that it should be like a training school, not just a prison. So that when they go in, they actually come out with some kind of skill and some ability. Yeah. Oh, Catherine, they loved it. Yeah. Volume 3. Yeah, well, Volume 3, I got up to about 16,000 words today. I am trying. This last chapter I was writing was about Prestwich Hospital, which was originally a lunatic asylum, believe it or not. Yeah, in the 1850s when it opened as a Manchester lunatic asylum. Imagine that. Yeah. So they weren't messing about. They knew what it was. Yeah. Is Big John your Irish mate? The fella in episode 3. He isn't in it. He was at Wormwood Scrubs. And when I left Wormwood Scrubs, he'd been required to resign. And he relocated to Mountjoy Jail in Dublin. Did I ever come across an inmate that scared you? Absolutely. Mark Leach. If you're not scared of Mark Leach, then you're not awake. Yeah. Not because he's going to attack you. He ain't going to attack you. He'll sue you to death. A highly intelligent individual who, if you get on the wrong side of him, will hit you with writs and pursue you through the courts till your life's not worth living. Apart from that, yeah, the big inmates, the big thugs, yeah, well, you didn't like them, but you weren't scared of them because don't forget, I was a hospital officer during my time there, and I had the answer. I had chlorpromazine in a injectable form. We used to just get a couple of big boys, hold them down, and I'd inject them in the backside, and out they'd go, stay out for 2 or 3 days. It totally changed when they came round from that. Short sentences is going to have a knock-on effect with the rest of the justice system, overwhelming probation and community service, etc. Well, the problem that we've got is that the justice system is broken, isn't it? I mean, they aren't paying staff. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet here, but when I left Strangeways, the last 12 months I worked in Strangeways, I've still got my wage slips, by the way, I can prove this. My last 12 months' pay was £17,500, and that was in 1984-85. And it was £17,500. That's going back nearly 40 years, isn't it? Well, it is 40 years, yeah. What are they getting now? £23,000. That beggars belief, doesn't it? I mean, in 1984, you could buy a house for £30,000, £40,000. Seriously, you could. Today, you can't buy a house. I mean, a proper, like a 3-bedroom semi. That's a fairly standard place, Round here, it's going to cost you 150, 180, maybe 200,000. Don't know why anyone would work in a prison for anything other than substantial. It isn't substantial remuneration, Gary. And look who they're recruiting now. They have teenage females on YouTube. You can see it advertising. Anybody can be a prison officer. Well, anybody can be a prison officer, and that's what's happening. The people who are going to work there are open to be corrupted, and they are being corrupted by sophisticated alpha male inmates who are professional career criminals. They have nothing to lose, and they'll seduce and corrupt these young females. At one prison alone, 38 members of staff, all female, have been prosecuted and many imprisoned for having improper relationships with inmates. That is unworkable. It's not quite as bad as the post office scandal, but that is disgraceful. The post office scandal. That woman should be prosecuted. She should be prosecuted. The people who allowed that to happen. Look, if I was in charge of an organisation like that, and the normal offending rate would probably be about 0.5%, 0.5% of the employees would be offending. And suddenly it jumped to 10, 15%. Whoa, that's not happening. Something's wrong, yeah? Not to mention working with scumbags, Gary. Well, I mean, are you talking about the inmates, or are you talking about the staff? Stay blessed. There's inmates inside earning more than the officers. That's true, yeah. But they're drug dealers, aren't they? Drug dealers, people who are selling drugs on the out and selling drugs on the in. And the problem is when you go inside, you get coerced into taking drugs. So I believe. I mean, I've never taken drugs in my life other than prescription drugs for my personal problems. Shallow grave evening, JGS. Yes, good evening, Boris. Catherine, when you have your Jack Daniels, do you have a measure and a cough? Hey, a double cough, hey? I get shit like that and thinking, go, have a little bit of that, John. Yeah. My wife, she don't like me drinking Jack Daniels, I tell you. Gary, she's given up her OBE, John. She'd be giving up her liberty if it was anything to do with me, Gary. Anyway, they're going to have an inquiry. Call her before the inquiry and say, did it not occur to you that if 10% of your staff have suddenly become apparently corrupt, something might be wrong? Did it never cross your mind? The problem is, you see, people get these jobs not because of what they know, but because of who they know. And that's the case a lot with the prison system. People were being promoted to principal, chief officers and governor grades, not because of their abilities, but because they were Freemasons or they were connected to somebody on the ladder. Why did the service do away with the chief officer grades? Well, I'd like to think, AJ Jones, that I was partly responsible for that. And if you read my book here, I'm not trying to sell you a book, just telling you it's in there. Yeah. I started a trade union for non-supervisory grade officers because I argued that chief officers who were members of the Prison Officers Association were middle management, and that as middle management, they were not capable of making decisions for the employees, the basic grade officers, yet the Prison Officers Association had chief officers running it. And the local branches of the Prison Officers Association, such as Strangeways, had a principal officer that was the chairman of the POA. Wormwood Scrubs had a principal officer that was chairman of the POA. Dartmoor had a chief officer that was the actual treasurer of the POA. The whole thing was run by management for management. Now, I believe that what I said actually registered with the Home Office, and that when they had a thing called Fresh Start around about 1990 after the Strangeways riots, they decided that they would obliterate the chief officer rank and replace it with the governor grades. So they were no longer members of the Prison Officers Association. But what kind of a trade union would allow its workforce to operate in the kind of conditions that pertain in the prisons today? Have I ever tried prison hooch? Give me a break, yeah? I'll tell you something. At Wormwood Scrubs, they made a brew in D-Wing that involved Brasso. Yeah, seriously. They strained the Brasso through a loaf of bread so it came out as clear at the end, and they mixed it in with the hooch that they'd made. About 3 of them went virtually blind. I don't be drinking anything shit like that. John, 1,600 a month for prison officers' job today. Yeah, I think that might be what they take home, Chris. But I believe that the very, very starting rate is just over £1,800. It's the same rate that a recruit to the British Army gets. Seriously. I mean, I was in the British Army. I was an NCO in the Royal Artillery, working on the Honest John missiles. And when I started in the British Army as a gunner, we were paid £1,000 a year, £20 a week. That was it. Instead of a poem or sing at the end of your videos, why not mix it up now and again and play us a song on that? On my guitar, yeah. Am I any good at it? Believe me, Lawrence, if I started playing that, there'd be people jumping off the end of Blackpool Pier. Catherine, bet they shone after. They're in hospital, Catherine. Hospital. it affected their optical nerve. Keep doing what I'm doing. Funky fresh. Well, I keep trying, you know. I mean, I really do. I try and make it fresh as well, you know, make it amusing. And I've been working today on writing volume 3 of my book. I have. It's not been bad. I mean, it's quite, I mean, I enjoy writing it, you know. Do I have any PTSD? Yeah, seems vast majority of professors do, yeah. Gary, I'm not a bloody soft bastard, me, but I do actually suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's very strange. I don't want to do it, you know. I don't make a big deal about it. I haven't gone to the doctors whinging about it, but every now and again, maybe once or twice a month, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'm in a recurring nightmare. And the recurring nightmare is I'm walking around the landings at Strangeways. I can't find my keys. I'm wearing my uniform. I've got my hat on. All the cell doors are locked. There's nobody else there, just me, all the cells, and I'm up and down the landings. And I tell you what, I might wake up at 3 a.m, and I've been doing that. I think I'll get back to sleep. I go back to sleep. I'm back on the landings. It will not stop. Yes, that's post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. Catherine Smith, which part of your prison career did you like the best? The bit where they sent me the letter telling me I was being discharged from the prison service. I haven't got to that yet, but I will do in book 3. See, I was physically assaulted on numerous occasions by staff. Yeah, and eventually I was medically discharged from the prison service. They sent me to see a psychiatrist. Yeah, seriously. Psychiatrist said, I've listened to what you got to say, Mr. Sutton. He said, I don't think you're insane at all. He said, I think where you're working is insane. Seriously, that's what he said. He said, you're definitely not psychologically suited to working in that dungeon. So that was the end of my career as a prison officer. John, why are the men not taking in the prison service and the women taking the job? Well, the pay isn't good enough, really, and the career structure isn't what it was. Plus, the pension is a load of bollocks nowadays. I mean, when I joined the prison service, you retired on 40 80ths. That's what you got, you know. Each year that you served, you got 2 80ths. Yeah, so anyway, and you could retire on half pay. But nowadays, it's not like that. I mean, I believe that the pension is just not what it was at all. But I retired on the old pension scheme, and I actually still do get a pension from the Home Office. So thank you very much, Home Office. Yeah. Hey up, John, Robert Ellis. Hey up, lad. How you doing, all right, eh? Touch of the old George Formby's turned out nice again. Here we are. Chris, John, right. John, why are the men not here? Well, they're not taking it up because the pay's crap. And it isn't exactly. I mean, when I joined the prison service, listen, when I joined, the pay of a prison officer was higher than the pay of a police constable. And within 5 years, that disparity was vast. And now it's over £10,000 a year difference. Seriously. That's why they're not. Which prison did you enjoy working in the most? I enjoy any of them, to be perfectly honest. I didn't join the prison system because I wanted to be a prison officer. I wanted to have a job that enabled me to care for my wife and my daughter, because I had a handicapped daughter, you see. She's all right now. I mean, she's still physically handicapped, but she's a social worker now. Prison services looking for women today, John. Yeah, they should be prosecuted. I'm telling you, they're putting these women at risk. You cannot stick teenage girls into an alpha male prison where all these alpha males, criminals, career criminals, and sophisticated criminals are manipulating and corrupting these young women. That's what's happening. There's no risk assessment. The Home Office should be prosecuted, but they're immune from prosecution because of the Crown immunity. But Sodexo and companies like that run the private prisons, they are not immune from prosecution. And the Prison Officers Association should get a class action against them. Stick them up in court. Let them sue the bloody pants off them. Yeah. What was the most traumatic experience I witnessed? Well, numerous traumatic experiences, being attacked by staff. Generally speaking, I wasn't too badly attacked by inmates. Once or twice I had to have a dust up, but generally speaking, I could handle that all right. But when you get staff attacking you, then that really does, it plays on your mind, because you don't know if you turn your back, they're supposed to be backing you up, but not only did they not back me up, they bloody attacked me. So that was very traumatic. Yeah, Robert Ellis, I earn about 24, doing hardly out with G4S. No way would I go work in prisons for some. Yeah, well, absolutely right. There's people earn more money stacking shelves at Tesco's than you would get for walking the landings at Strangeways. And believe me, you wouldn't want to walk the landings at Strangeways. It's a dirty, horrible, disgusting, rat-infested dungeon. 24,000 a year, that's all right. And if you're happy with G4S, it started with 4 policemen, Group 4 policemen. I believe they were from the Greater Manchester area. Anyway, they set up this system of security, and it went from there. Do I like G4S prisons in Britain? No, I disagree completely, 100% disagree with privatisation of the prison system. It's an insult to the people of Great Britain that the prisoners that we're locking up for offending against society are being held in jails that are run for profit. That is definitely not the way forward. It's as bad as America. They do that in America. So we are becoming very much Americanized. And I can see that this is going to be the way in the future, that they're going to do more of this. But it is a damn insult to society. I mean, if it was your brother or your sister or your father or your mother that was locked up and people were just holding them in custody for because they were making money out of it, you wouldn't feel very happy about that, would you? And some of the conditions in these jails are just the same as the old Victorian dungeons. I'm seriously looking forward to them demolishing Strangeways, because if they demolish Strangeways, then they're going to hopefully turn it partly into a prison, a museum, a prison museum. Because I've got an exhibit. I've got a couple of exhibits actually from dating back to the start of the prison, 1868, I think it was. Yeah, that's when they started it. That's when it was opened. Yeah, and of course I've been around every single bit of it. They should open it up and let people have a look round, like they used to do with Bedlam. When people could go and watch, pay a couple of pennies to go and watch the people who were insane in Bedlam. Let them do that with the prison. It's going to put people off going to prison if they thought they were going to be an exhibit, don't you think? Yeah. Do I think they should bring back the death penalty for certain offences like nonces? Well, I don't believe that people who commit sex offences do so because they know what they're doing. I think they're insane. And I do feel that they should be held against their will, which you don't want to do it, indefinitely, because there's no cure. You let them out. I mean, look what's happening with Gary Glitter. In, let him out, back at it, back in, let him out, back at it. Yeah, but as for the death penalty, I don't agree with the death penalty. Anyway, It's far worse to be locked up indefinitely. Ian Brady, when he was locked up indefinitely, and I met Ian Brady numerous times, he wanted to die. He went on hunger strike in Ashworth Hospital, and I've worked in Ashworth Hospital, and he was force-fed. And believe me, you don't want to be force-fed. And where are we going with this? Yeah, did I ever work in Broadmoor? No, I didn't. I never worked in Broadmoor. But I did work at Ashworth, which is the same kind of thing. And I did numerous courses in psychiatric hospitals, including Prestwich, which I've just been writing about today. John, prisons not working in the UK. You see HMP Berwin. HMP Berwin, that's the one. 38 female prison officers arrested, charged, numerous of these imprisoned for inappropriate relationships with inmates, smuggling phones in, tobacco, cigarettes, whiskey, whatever it is, drugs, and getting down and servicing the alpha males. I'm not quite sure exactly what they were doing, but leave it to your imagination. Yeah. A dead man. Hello, dead man. You're from Leicester. My grandson's at Leicester University. He's in the third year of his master's degree in engineering. I've been to Leicester a few times to see him. Where are we? Gary Henderson. They're building a new prison in Glasgow. I believe so. HMP Glasgow, yeah. On the site of the old gasworks. And they're getting rid of the bar alley. What a dirty, disgusting jail that is. Did I think they will make people less scared to go to a modern prison? As opposed to a shithole. You've certainly got away with words there, Gary. Yeah. I'm not sure about that. I mean, it's the loss of liberty that is the problem with prisons. And if you've ever been in prison, it's as boring as hell. I mean, when I was in prison, I'd go everywhere. I was studying all the way through. I had textbooks with me all the time. So that's what I did to pass the time when I wasn't engaged in working. Seriously. I personally think the death penalty is bad. It is. I think it isn't. It's hardly a mark of civilization, is it? I mean, what next? All right, well, let's take the argument. We're going to bring the death penalty back. What next? I know. They've got a good idea in Iran. They flog women for not wearing the hijab. Well, we could try something like that over here, you know. What next? They're mad in Iran, you know. Well, where are we up to? It's a good shout. Stay blessed, yeah. Hello, stay blessed. Yeah, that's a shout, is it? Yeah, here we go. Robert Ellis, a lot of building work near Strangeways. Oh, yeah. They're completely refurbishing the area around Strangeways, which is known as Cheetham Hill, by the way. Up Cheetham Hill Road, all the old Victorian buildings there that have been used by warehouses, people selling counterfeit goods and all that. It's all been knocked down and rebuilt. Manchester's like bloody New York now. Have you been round? Massive, great buildings. It never used to be like that. Dan, thank you, Dan. You come drop me some nice comments now and again. Thanks. Chris John Wright. John, do you blame the managers in HMP Berwin? 37, yeah. Yeah, in prison. I'll tell you. I blame the government. Listen, those 37 women should be represented by their so-called trade union, the Prison Officers Association, and they should issue a class action against the Ministry of Justice and the Home Office for failing to carry out a risk assessment before they were appointed to their positions, because they've been thrown in the deep end. Listen, you don't have to be bloody Einstein or a sociological professor to realize that if you put women, vulnerable women, in a situation like that where there are serious career criminals, you're going to get trouble. And that's exactly what they got. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to prove. I don't know. Right, where are we up to? Hermes. Hey, John, you should be a politician. I had a radio show, in America. I had a radio show for 2 years. I forget what it was, out of New York. It was Network USA. But in USA, it's not like over here, You've got to get sponsorship, you've got to get advertising, and by the time you finish, I just thought I've had enough of this. Yeah. Although I have done loads of radio shows. Radio 4, I've done Radio 4 numerous times. Radio 2. I was on Radio 2 when I had a book out called Psychic Pets. Not just writing about prisons, I've been published by Bloomsbury. I was in America with Walt Disney, in New York with Fox TV. I've been around a bit. I'm a lot older than I look. I know you think that's impossible. Yeah. John, do you blame the manager? I blame the manager. I blame the government. Hey, John, yeah, well, I bought your audiobook. Listened to it twice. Oh, that's nice. Oh, thank you very much, Moments. Yeah. He does well, that Alan Turton, doesn't he? I'm hoping to get him. And it's not me that does it, by the way. It's the publishers that do it. The publisher is the people working with Sean Atwood, Gadfly Press. But he did a good job with it, yeah. And it's very listened. I've listened to it a couple of times myself, and I wrote the bloody thing. Yeah. Where are we at? Gary, never been in prison, so find it hard to see how women officers could have illicit affairs with prisoners without being obvious to others around. Gary, I've been around a bit. When I was about 15, I worked in a cinema as an odd job man, doing the boilers and helping at the projectionist, winding the films back, putting the posters up and all that. And I had a girlfriend who was one of the usherettes, and she was 25. I won't go into too much detail, but where there's a will, there's believe me, there is a way. Where are we at? Stay blessed. John, was there a lot of sexual assaults when I was working? No women working there when I worked there, but there were quite a number of male-on-male rapes. Usually people's in banged up with a cellmate who decides to rape them. That would be truly terrifying. What do you think? I mean, did you see that case the other day? A police constable in London went to a 999 call. When he went into the house to see what the guy wanted, he raped him. Imagine that. They'll just think there's somebody burgling my house for sending somebody round. And he goes in and rapes you. God help us. What's happening to the police these days? My brother was a detective sergeant, no, a detective inspector with the Greater Manchester Police. He wouldn't do anything like that. Nail a few women, yeah, but not going knocking blokes off. Yeah, so there was quite a few of that, sexual assaults. And the problem was that you may not be aware of this, but when you forcibly enter somebody, you can cause damage. And that's what happened. It used to tear the rectums. So they had to, I dealt with a few of them, and they were taken out to hospital where they were given a general anaesthetic and stitched up. But, I mean, once you've had that done to you, you're psychologically knackered, aren't you? It's in your head forevermore that some bloke has held you down and whapped something up your jacksy. Pardon me for lapsing into the vernacular there, but you did ask. What's this? John, G4S prisons got good managers to the government. Have they? They may very well have. I mean, I have little experience of dealing with G4S, but I just think that it is inappropriate to run a for-profit system whereby people are held in jails. I really do. I don't think it's appropriate. It's the job of the government. Got another question here. I ask everyone to buy and read your book. Well, that's very kind. Moment. Right. I hope that they do enjoy it. Yeah, I gave my brother a copy, and he's given it to one of his friends, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, they're really enjoying it." So I sincerely hope that people are enjoying my book. I've written 17 books, not just these. Yeah, where we at? Anybody remember the television series Most Haunted with Derek Acorah? I was his manager. Not when he was with Most Haunted. I got him on there. I wrote his book. Yeah. I am totally opposed to private prisons. Good. I am opposed to it too because it's an insult to society. Where are we up to, Catherine? Which of the books you have written do you think is my best? Without doubt, Catherine, Animals Make You Feel Better, it's called, and that was published by Element Penguin. I was commissioned to write that for the American market, which I did. It was published in America and in England, of course, and all over the world, in fact. But yeah. And when Spike Milligan, the comedian Spike Milligan, was 80, I sent him a copy to Spike, thanks for the laughs, and signed it. And he wrote back to me. I've got a letter from Spike Milligan here saying, thanks very much. I really enjoyed it, Spike. Yeah, so that's my favorite book of all of them. Animals Make You Feel Better. You can get a copy for about £1 online. I mean, it's not in print now, but my best-selling book was Psychic Pets. That won the Sunday Times Children's Book of the Year in 1997, I think it was. Yeah, I was on Richard and Judy with that. A long time ago, isn't it? In fact, it's 26 years ago. Yeah. That sold all over the world. It sold massively in America, that. I was flown to America to tour America with that. Will the third volume be the last series? It will, I believe, Gary. Yeah, unless when it's published and if it's a big hit. I mean, the others have been quite a big hit. Yeah, if it's a big hit, then I may do a deal with the publisher to write biographical accounts of those people who committed murders and were hung in HM prisons. I might write a book called Victims of the Noose, because I believe that people who are hanged are victims. Yeah. Right. I think you should do the reading of your next audiobook yourself. Well, stay blessed. I appreciate what you're saying. And I haven't got a choice in this. It's not my decision. I did suggest it to the publisher, and he said, that's not how we work. We work with a professional company that they have a deal with them, and they have proper actors. So there's a knack to it, you see. They didn't want to waste time going through me reading my book, because I'm not an actor, am I? I'm just me. So I did ask, but they told me no. Yeah, I think you should. You have them both. You've got them both. Oh, you got both my books, Catherine. But have you got Psychic Pets and Animals Make You Feel Better? Boris, all the female screws when I've been inside were donkeys. Sound like things. Hey, where did you get that phrase from? Boris, that's very funny. I don't know. I mean, all the female prison staff that I knew worked at places like Holloway and Style. I was in Holloway once. It was in my first book, actually. And my mate had an argument with this giant female jailer, and she punched him. And my mate was a big fella, and she punched him. He shook it off and flattened her. Sitting down like a sack of potatoes. Boof! Straight in a snot box, down on the floor. We got out of there quick. Yeah. John, I have 7 months till I start working as a prison officer. All right. My source of research is my thoughts. God help you, lad. I have not made my decision to join yet, though. I've passed all the exams and medical. I can't tell you. I advise you. I mean, you know what you want to do. You'll have an experience, let me tell you that. And listen, life's all about experience, isn't it? If you go in there and you do that and you come out relatively sane, which you may do, yeah, then you can move on to other things. I mean, I knew staff that worked in the prison system for, say, 4 or 5 years, and they moved on to work with HM Customs. And a nice step in the right direction. So it sets you up for a proper job, but I don't think the prison service is a proper job these days. Chris John Wright, prison officers recruitment is bad. See, it's Sam. I know, I've been with Sam. I've done some work with Sam Samworth. I've done 4 interviews with Sam. If you look on his channel and type in my name, John G. Sutton, you'll see that the interviews come up. Oh, Catherine, so you've got psychic pets and animals make you feel better. Have you read the Derek Acorah book, The Psychic World of Derek Acorah? I mean, despite the fact that it's about this guy who he went off his rocker in the end, I believe. But when I was working with him, he was genuine, and he actually did. He did have a psychic gift. He wasn't very good as a medium, but he did have a psychic gift. Yeah, and that's an interesting book. Yeah. John, did I ever talk about Dartmoor Jail much? I met the chief officer of Dartmoor Jail and reported him to the Scotland Yard's fraud squad because he was assisting the other members of the Prison Officers Association General Committee, Executive Committee, in defrauding the members, borrowing the money and lending it to themselves. So yeah, I did know a little bit about it, but I've never been in Dartmoor Jail, no. Boris, a couple of the women at Forest Bank were bigger than me, and I am 18 stone. Boris, yeah. So you've been in Forest Bank. That's up near. That's up the other side of near Earlham of the Heights, isn't it? I used to go running around there. You know, I mean, I didn't waste my time drinking in the club. Can you imagine that? Working in the prison and going drinking in the club. I didn't. I used to get my running shoes on and go running. I used to go running around Forest Bank and all that area, up Earlham of the Heights and up to Boggart Clough and all that. Yeah, those were the days. Can't bloody walk now. Paul, if only all prison officers were like you. Well, everybody's different, aren't they? I mean, and let's be perfectly honest, I must have been bloody mad taking on the government and the Prison Officers Association and the National Front. I must have been crackers. But anyway, I did it. And here I am living to tell the tale. Oh, you haven't read that one? All right. I also wrote one, Catherine, that you might like, which is available on Amazon. It's The Psychic World of John G. Sutton, because I was the feature editor of a newspaper, a national newspaper, for 27 years. The newspaper was called Psychic World. It was a monthly, but I wrote a column in there every month, a 1,000-word column, and I compiled the best of those columns and put them into a book, and it's called The Psychic World of John G. Sutton. It's fairly cheap. I priced them as cheap as they would let me price them. Salford, yeah, it is Salford, yeah. Used to be a race course at Salford, you know. You won't remember it, Boris, but there was. Paul Lucas, I was unfortunate enough to be in Lincoln Prison when I came across one of the murderers. Got off with it in court. Of Barry Prosser. Oh, right. Yeah. Really? Wasn't he beaten to death in a cell, Barry Prosser? Yeah. In the block, yeah. Beaten to death in a cell. Yeah. I'm looking at prison officer jobs in G4S. Chris, why do that? Get yourself something where you're not going to get attacked, you know? Stacking shelves in somewhere, you know, Asda or Tesco's. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, new decision. Yeah. Your mum's read that. All right. Good. Catherine. Oh, well. The turnkey was moved from Winson Green to Lincoln Prison. All right, you mean the prison officer was moved, yeah? Well, I'll tell you something. One of the prison officers was moved from Winson Green to Strangeways, but no names, no pack drill. No witnesses in the block. There's no witnesses in the block. Believe me, I've been down the block when they've been kicking people around the floor, and I've intervened, and I went and got the senior medical officer. I said, this man's been injured, you know. And he all teeth kicked out, boot polish embedded into his body. He must have broken about 3 of his ribs, smashed him all over the place. And I got the senior medical officer. He said, I can't see anything wrong with this man, Mr. Sutton. What's the problem? Wasting my time. Seriously. Prosser was inside for stealing a door lock. Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah. Yeah. You see, that's the problem once you get inside prison. I mean, and listen, I've seen some prison staff who actually think it's entertaining to go into the prison club at dinner time, drink maybe 4 or 5 pints of beer, Boddingtons, it usually was Boddingtons, then come back in and entertain themselves beating inmates up. I absolutely disagreed with it. But the problem you've got, if you disagree with it and you're working there, what do? What I did was report them. And what happened next? Instead of beating prisoners up, they started attacking me. It's Strangeways near Salford. Yeah, Strangeways is on Bury New Road. In what, near Salford? Yeah, opposite the River Irwell. How big is the block? The block, probably about 30 cells at Strangeways. There's 2 sides to it. Yeah, there's the block within the block, and then there's the segregation unit in the block. You can see it if you look on the BBC Strangeways documentary from 1979. You'll see images of the block. Is someone I do. I've told you, Paul. I do suffer from that. Yeah, it's a recurring nightmare that I have, in which I'm patrolling the landings with no keys, big hat, uniform, no keys. Everything's locked up, and I can't find my way out. Sad. Actually, believe me, the prison system is absolutely sad. It's seriously broken these days. Paul Lucas, has any prison officer ever been convicted of murder that they cover up with a suicide? Well, I don't. They won't be convicted of the murder if they're covering it up. I've certainly seen inmates that have been badly injured, and the report book overnight says this inmate has been throwing themselves around the cell during the hours of darkness and creating a disturbance. But in actual fact, before the doors were closed, they were beaten. But what can you do? I've tried reporting it. All I got was warned by the governor to get about my duty. Bob, John, I love listening to me, and I've done over the years. You have done, have you? Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I have to say the psychic thoughts put me on. Well, Bob, it's my message. I mean, what would you rather have? I mean, the truth from what I see, the truth, or go back 2,500 years and some shepherd in the middle of a desert telling you about a star and three wise men. Is that a better story? I don't know. Not for me, it isn't. Gary, I listened to your books. Which prison is it you saw the hangman's ghost? That was Strange Ways, and the ghost was John Ellis. Yeah, he was the hangman there before Pillar Point. 4 more episodes have been uploaded recently on here of the 79 Strain. All right. Yeah, well, I was there. Rex Bloomstein was the director. Rex Bloomstein was still alive. He's 82 years old now, Rex Bloomstein. It's a big theme of his, the problems with imprisonment and abusing inmates. And he's a very nice man, actually. He's obviously Jewish. Paul Lucas, John, as honest as the day long. Well, I try and be, Paul, So a lot of people say I'm a fabricator, but I mean, look it up. It's there. All that I say can be researched, and you can find it online. It's in the newspapers. There's reports from the Guardian and the Daily Telegraph from 1979, 1980, where I was taking action. Salvador Marley, what did your fellow prison officers think of your song? Right? Yeah. I didn't. I wasn't working with them at the time. I wasn't working with the celebrities and songwriting at the time. I was studying. I was trying to study law at Manchester University and work as a prison officer at the same time, 60 hours a week, run a family, care for my grandfather, my wife, and my child, and basically it nearly cracked me up. Anyway, I didn't. But hey, funnily enough, you should ask, I got my royalties through yesterday for the recordings I did with PJ Proby, that perverted paedophile. Yeah, I got my royalty statements through yesterday. Christopher John Wright. John, do you like new prisons like HMP Berwyn? I don't like prisons at all, really. I mean, I think that there should be places where inmates are treated with a degree of respect and that they're given some hope. Because at the moment, the kind of dungeons that we're throwing people into are just a disgrace, so that people come out there bitter and twisted and ready to go. Right. John, do you like... do people become more aggressive after incarceration? It's not correction. To a certain extent, people do, because they become bitter and twisted. When I worked at Wormwood Scrubs, there was one poor bloke there, and he really got some hammer from the staff. I don't know why. He must have got on the wrong side of the wrong people. And he came out of prison, and the following afternoon, he came back with a shotgun. Seriously. And opened fire as the staff were coming out. Everybody ran like hell. Do I believe there is a God? Well, if there is, it's a very strange God, isn't it? I believe that there is a divine force for goodness, and if that's God, then that's God. But I don't believe that it's a personification. I don't believe that when we step through into the next dimension, we're going to sit down with some almighty being and discuss our future. I don't believe that. I believe that there is a force for good and there is a force for evil. But if there was no force for evil, there would be no force for good. So there has to be a balance, and you make your decision as to which side you're going to go. Salvador Mali, what happened to elderly prisoners? Were they left alone or not worried? Well, generally speaking, they were given a certain degree of respect, as elderly people. They weren't deliberately manipulated or abused in any way. The one that I felt sorry for was a guy who was about 70, I think, and he was sent to prison from Burnley for walking his dog in the park against the bylaws, and he got fined by the magistrates, refused to pay, and he was incarcerated for failing to pay his fine. He said he's not paying it because he'd been walking his dog there for 50 years, and why should he stop now? And he eventually paid because everybody was barking at him, woof, woof, everywhere he went, including the staff. Right. Recruitment in the British Army today is bad. Yesterday, they won't join that either, will they? And people joining the police, I mean, you don't even go for an interview these days. They do it online. No wonder they're getting male rapists. I like you are a very honest man. Kudos. Thank you, Bob. I try to be, And generally speaking, in my opinion, you can usually tell if somebody's lying their ass off. I'm not lying their ass off. You can check it out. Hey, what do you think of John fictional? Oh, yeah. Some of them are good. There was one called Time, wasn't there? Yeah. Now that was really good. Yeah, I thought that was really to the point. Anyway, here we are at the end of this little chat we've had today. I sincerely hope you've all enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And don't forget, if you've not read it, do have a look at my books. They're out there online. And I shall be back online with another broadcast tomorrow. And this is Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Thank you all very, very much for joining in. It's been very interesting. I have enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Bye now. Bye, everybody.